It is. Yeah, I don't know anything about racing. This is true. You're right. You're in the wrong show.
Yeah.
You're watching the wrong show if you want to hear like super engineer stuff.
And honorable mention, Alpine, because hello, French Revolution.
The French Revolution gets me every time, man.
I know it's a good line, and maybe one day she'll come back to the show.
Maybe, who knows? Only time will tell. Oh man, welcome back to these. I almost
hitting the apex.
Yeah,
it's been a long week. We got too many shows now. It's just
I'm done. But we've got the most exciting race of the year this week.
Yes, the parade, as they like to call it.
Yeah, the Monaco train. Oh, I'm sorry, Grand Prix. Not the Monaco train. The Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah, I mean, look, we obviously had a cancellation last week, so due to weather, and
yeah, it was the 1 week I couldn't do it, so I was like, all right, I guess no show, and then they canceled the race for us. So I mean, you gotta give props to the FIA for that one.
They said, oh wait, they can't do it in the Apex, we'll just cancel it. So it's perfect. We appreciate that, FIA, we really do. But yeah, so now we're headed off to Monaco for race now. I think it's 6 or 7, something like that.
Yeah,
whatever. At this point, we kind of lost count. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, just a Red Bull has won every race, and that's where we're at.
And that's that. And it's probably not going to change this weekend either. So, with that being said, the usual, right? It's a Circuit de Monaco, 1950, 78 laps. It's just there's very little opportunities here for anything except the only excitement I can see is obviously some safety cars and
so the overtaking opportunity is right here. This is the pit lane.
Yep. The pit lane. That's where you go.
So if you someone has a screwed up pit stop and you have a faster one, you can jump them.
Oh my gosh! But look, this has been a race that. I mean, last year we saw what happened last year.
Yeah, and this sucks because this is like a historic race, and I mean we're joking a little bit, but it should be one of the highlights on the calendar, and the cars keep getting bigger, and there's no room to expand the track. So what's happened now is the track is too narrow,
right?
And so you can barely fit one car through most of it. So there's no way anyone could overtake. So.
It's going to be a matter of if some.
Well, it's the qualifying, right? Like you said, last year was the year Leclerc wrecked it, right, in qualifying.
Yeah.
But ended up on pole, but wrecked it, and then
couldn't
start the race. Yeah, so I mean, but qualifying is going to be the big one.
Yep, I think that at the end of the day with this one, it's if you get out in front and you don't make any mistakes, and you have the right strategy, you're just gonna at that point there really isn't much else that could happen.
Yeah, I will like if there is an overtaking spot other than obviously I was joking about the pit lane, but that is probably the most likely spot. There's a couple of other spots where you could potentially overtake right here into turn 10. This is the big tunnel that they come out of. You can potentially, it's very hard, but overtake there. And the other one is this hairpin. We've seen some drivers be able to wedge themselves up on the inside and kind of get through there. So those are probably your two best opportunities to overtake. If there's anywhere to overtake, those would probably be it. But yeah, the qualifying is big. You can be significantly slower and still hold someone off if you position your car well. So generally the overtakes are the driver in front makes a mistake or you catch them off guard or something.
Yeah, maybe he locks up or something. That's
yeah, and this is you can't really tell in the diagram here. This is a runoff, like that you can go straight across and hit the next part of the track. So if there's controversy, it's usually in this corner 10, because sometimes there's a lockup that's not really a lockup, but the guy's just like, I'm not getting overtaken. Go straight across. You're still in front.
Yep.
And then
Right.
trying to explain how you didn't get an advantage. So
That's right.
that's probably the areas to watch. And then, as you said, there, it is a tough circuit. There are a couple of drivers that probably should not be driving in Formula One on the circuit this year. So will they end up in a wall? Very, very, very possible. So that's
very,
also
very likely that someone's going to end up in the wall. Hopefully,
yeah. So it does. I mean, we're trying to make this interesting, but like, it does bring strategy into play big time. Like, when do you pit? If you pit at the wrong time around a safety car, if you pit right before it comes out, you can end up way down the field. There's no way you're going to make that up, and vice versa. If you stay out too long hoping for a safety car, you can have the opposite effect of getting undercut repeatedly. If you come out, basically, if you come out of the pit sequence in the wrong place, you're not going to fight back through the field and get back up. So
chances are you'll get stuck in the DRS train big time.
Yep. So the pit stop, the pit strategy is key to because it's really, I mean, the race is pretty much over after the round of pit stops, and these are going to be a one stopper because there's no way you can make up ground. So it's a one stopper, and after the pit stops, it's pretty much over unless someone wrecks. Because even then, a safety car doesn't change anything because no one's going to pit because you don't get a position in Monaco.
Speaking of pitting, right? Speaking of one stoppers, it looks like the tires are going to be the C3 through the C5, which are the three softest compounds. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really even at a. I mean, we've had drivers make mistakes with their tire choices and not have it impact their finishing position because you can't overtake. So it's not that big of a. They like you said, three softest. They'll give them more grip, but not. It's going to be a one stopper. That's what it's going to be.
Yep, and of course that's not counting any safety cars and things like that.
Yeah, or potentially, I mean, red flags,
right,
as well, which they love to throw nowadays. So.
Yeah, they do. Here's a race schedule. What it looks like tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. is practice number 1, and then you've got practice number 2 at 11 a.m., followed by practice 3 on Saturday morning at 6:30 in the morning. These are all obviously Eastern time, and then you've got your qualifying at 10 a.m. on Saturday, followed by the race at 9 a.m. on Sunday. What's the weather look like here? Weather forecast.
So this is an interesting one. There is actually potentially some rain.
Yeah, I see that.
So we'll see. So that could certainly throw a wrinkle into things as well. We'll see how that plays out Saturday and Sunday. There's potentially some rain, so it could be more chaos. But it is really just chaos because there's not really being on the. I guess theoretically, if the switch between wets and hards, that could throw some things. But again, it's all pit strategy.
Right, and you've got relatively nice temperatures in the 70s, so it shouldn't be too bad there. Let's get right to it, man. Who are the guys that you're watching this weekend and the team that you're watching, Vish?
So for me, it's Mercedes. This was, if you recall, boy, it's been 2 weeks since we did a show, but it feels like a year. They were bringing all those upgrades to. God, what is the Emilio Romano, whatever it's called, and the race never happened. So their upgrades are now coming to this race. So we're going to see their upgrades. Now, this is a very unique track, so it probably won't get us a true sense of how much they've improved because this is almost like a one-off.
Right.
I mean, this is the track that Red Bull would famously win even when their car wasn't good because they were good with downforce.
Right.
Now they're good with downforce and on high speed. That's why they just win everything. But
right.
but so it'll be. That's who I'm definitely watching. Is like, all right, let's see how this upgrade works because it's supposed to be a pretty major change to how their car concept is executed. So that's what I'm looking at.
I'll go with a different one. I'll go with Aston Martin. I want to see if after a couple of weeks off and. Still getting all the praise. I know Fernando Alonso, a lot has been spoken about with him, now that Aston Martin kind of came out with, the engine that they're going to use in 2026 moving forward. I know we'll talk about that a little bit before we, get on out of here. But, everybody's obviously very happy with him over there, the way that he's driving. He's obviously, he's a great driver, right? He's been around for a while, though. So is this something where, all this talk about the Honda and everything, all the other distractions, how it plays into it. Is Lance Stroll gonna end up shitting the bed again?
I mean, he's not been good, right? So
I mean,
this is the owner's kid, so it doesn't matter. But he's not been good. We would be talking a lot more about how, hey, they might need to, if they're actually, with the
well,
race winning
he was
competitive
really
car.
bad 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah,
Really
he didn't get out of Q1, and if he wasn't the owner's son, we'd be having a conversation about Lance Stroll right now, and whether or not, if they believe they have a race-winning car, he's good enough to be in that. The answer is probably not.
Yeah. So Aston Martin can at least Fernando Alonso, can he battle and he can continue to compete with the knockoff RB whatever 14 or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. And as far as the drivers are concerned, look, I still think that this is a great track for Leclerc. He's always been strong in this one. I know he
His home race.
Yeah, obviously it's his home race. Yeah, exactly. And this is an opportunity for him to hopefully come out and race really well and potentially sit on pole again and not wreck the car this time, which would be nice. If he does, this is probably the best chance that Ferrari might get to steal one from Red Bull or from anybody else, because if you get out in front and you strategically drive a good race, you could have an opportunity to win this one easily. So this might be
and to your point, actually, the good thing to watch with Ferrari is Leclerc has been on pole this year.
Yep.
It hasn't mattered because the Red Bull's so fast in DRS that they just take it, but that's not really something you do at this track.
Right.
So if you can actually put it on pole again, this time the track position actually might matter, because we were talking a couple of weeks ago about, does qualifying even matter anymore? Because the Red Bulls are just going to pass you anyway. It doesn't matter where they are on the track; they're going to pass you, right? But
the only shot you have is that might be DNF, or they have some issues, right? That's really the only shot you have.
Yeah, but this race might be an exception in terms of that overtaking, because it's not really a track where you normally are able to do that.
Right. So that's for me. Who's the driver? I don't think you mentioned the driver, Vish, that you were looking for. I know you're looking at Mercedes. But...
Yeah, I didn't. I'm looking at Checo.
Yeah,
he's good on road circuits. That's what the street circuits.
Didn't he win this one last year?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, I think he did. But he's good on street circuits. Max expanded the lead a little bit in the last race in Miami, so this is a good chance for him to claw some of that back. Because still, if we want any kind of a title fight, it's going to be him having to take it to Max, which is unlikely, but still, hoping for something there. So he's definitely not watching.
For sure. Oh boy. So we were talking about it. I had just mentioned it and we'll do predictions in just a second, but the Aston Martin move to Honda engines in 2026. I think that's going to be interesting, because it basically just means that Honda's coming back and they are going to, or stay in it per se, sort of, right? I know it's Red Bull powertrain, but still use Honda parts over there as well. So Red Bull moving away from Honda, or is this just Honda's coming in?
Well, so Honda obviously tried to was leaving the sport, so Red Bull had to start up their own powertrain unit and all that, but it's really just Honda under the hood there,
right?
But then if you remember, Red Bull signed that deal with God, I'm spacing on
Ford. That's right.
Yeah. So they're no longer a Honda, and they're not going to be. And so, but Honda then wanted to come back in, said to find someone else, and it's Aston Martin, which is just another step towards them trying to compete to be at the front of the grid and win races, win titles, because they're still and I think this has pretty much been borne out. There's still a belief that if you're going to win races consistently and compete for championships, you need to be a works team, which basically means you need to be the primary concern of an engine supplier. And Honda is the only, I guess Ford will, once they team up with Red Bull, are the only ones that are not owned by, just wholly owned by another team on the grid. If you get a Mercedes engine, it's still going to be built around the Mercedes. So even though Aston Martin right now is quicker than Mercedes with the Mercedes engine in it, eventually you would expect Mercedes to develop the car around the engine more seamlessly. So to avoid that, they're going to Honda, so they are going to be Honda's team, and the engine will be kind of designed around what Aston Martin needs. So it's a big play for them now. McLaren made a similar move 10 years ago, and it did not work at all. There was not good synergy between them and Honda, and they made it for the same logic because Mercedes used to own McLaren. Right. It was like 49% to 51%, and Mercedes said, no, we're doing our own team. So they came out of there, and so they felt to compete, they couldn't use Mercedes engines, and they need to go to Honda, and it didn't work. And then they went to obviously to Renault, and then to back to Mercedes now. But obviously Honda worked great for Red Bull, so there's nothing inherently wrong with the Honda engine. So it's an interesting play from Aston Martin. It's dreaming big, and actually I was criticizing my own team, McLaren, for not having aspirations anymore, and I think this is the opposite of that. This is Aston Martin saying, you know what, we're going to take a risk here. We're going to take a risk here, but the upside is potentially winning races. Now, the funny thing is, one of the chief reasons that the Honda-McLaren relationship completely fell apart is Fernando Alonso, who was at McLaren at the time and, made his famous comments about how this is a GP2 engine or whatever when he was driving. And basically, that was the end of Honda working with McLaren, who I think McLaren actually fired Honda in the middle of the season. That's
crazy.
They were like, we're going to use Renault engines. And Fernando Alonso played a big role in driving that wedge, and now, he's obviously Aston Martin's lead driver now with Honda coming in. Now, will he be? 2026 is quite a
driving.
Yeah, 2026 is quite a ways down the road for some of his age, but I mean, he's already past when you would expect him to stop. So maybe
that'd be interesting to watch. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on for sure. Moving right along, we've got you mentioned it earlier, right? Mercedes coming with their potentially massive upgrades here for Monaco. Don't know if it's going to make a huge difference, as you mentioned, but potentially could be, I guess a step in the right direction for them.
Well, it needs to be, right? I mean, if they're going to compete, I think there's two things going on. One is Red Bull's going to win the drivers and constructors, right? I mean, we know that already. So there's kind of a hopefully Checo can take it to max, so the drivers championship is, in play longer into the season. But the other thing is, we're hoping that Ferrari, you mentioned Aston Martin as well, Mercedes, can close that gap. So maybe by the end of the year, at least the races themselves, the championship might be over, but the races themselves will be really competitive. And, maybe Ferrari could on pace beat Red Bull by the end of the season, right? Or maybe Mercedes can, or maybe Aston Martin can. So that every race isn't a walk in the park. It's not going to ultimately change the championship results, but it could, make the racing a lot more interesting than what we're seeing now, which is which Red Bull's going to win. So if Mercedes cannot close the gap with major upgrades right now, we're really talking about, all right, we have to wait till next season to see what comes out. So it's a big, whether or not it makes a big difference this weekend, it'd still be interesting to see, if they found pace somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Mercedes, Mr.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I want to ask you the question. You've been kind of almost interviewing me here, but I'm going to ask you the question. So I think I know where you're going with this, which is the Lewis Hamilton Ferrari rumors. So multiple questions for you on this. One, what would your overall thoughts be on it's such a weird look, but Hamilton in a Ferrari?
Yeah, that would be weird. I just find it so funny, this recent interview that they had where they were asking, Leclerc a question about Ferrari and driving with a guy like, with a superstar. I don't remember the exact question, but he turned to Lewis and he said, "Hello, Lewis," and they started laughing at each other. Looked like they were falling in love there for a second, man. But I was like, yeah, I don't know how legit that offer really is. But how would I feel about him joining Ferrari? I mean, he's the GOAT, man. And if anybody can make that Ferrari look better than it really is.
I mean, Carlito kicked right the hell out of there.
Yeah, it would have to be right. It would have to be Carlos Sainz, right? They're not gonna boot Leclerc, I don't think. But Man, I think the dynamic between those two would be fun to watch because they're both great drivers, and now you're talking about potentially the strongest lineup on the grid. Who knows? But
It probably is. Yeah, I think it
yeah,
would be.
I would probably say so. It would be interesting to see. I don't know how legit it really is, but it's nice. It's nice to hear it and kind of see all the rumors. It's fun to hear all this
I mean,
stuff.
Ferrari definitely has the most money.
Sure.
And it is Ferrari. As much as we kind of make fun of them, it is Ferrari. It is the brand in Formula One. Red Bull and Mercedes can win as many titles as they want. It's Ferrari sport, really. And so, it's like you said, we don't know how legit the offer is. I think probably the better way to phrase it is we don't know how legit the interest would be. If Hamilton wants to go to Ferrari, the money will show up and he'll be a
forget about the
Ferrari.
money,
I think it's the other way around. Like, is he actually interested? And that's a kind of open question. He's kind of said in the past he wants to finish his career at Mercedes. He's actually always been, I mentioned earlier, it was McLaren Mercedes. He's always been a Mercedes driver, like all the way up through. Like when he was at McLaren, it was Mercedes' team, and then he switched over to the actual Mercedes team as they spun up after Braun and that 1 year Braun GP.
Right.
So I mean, it'd be a hell of a weird move for him. Just like culture shock. He's hanging out with the Italians now. It's just such a weird change because again, all these other teams, even Mercedes and all, they're pretty much all run out of the UK anyway.
Right.
Like
this one's in Italy, right? Like
he's right out of Italy, man. They are from the motherland. It is such a weird move for him. I would love it. It would be fun. And like we said in the intro, right? We have fun with this show. That's what we do here, and I would be really fun to see that.
If Mercedes, if Ferrari comes and tells you Lewis Hamilton, 50 mil, like they mentioned, right? It was a $50 million offer per year, or if they say, oh, that's not enough, we'll go to 75. It's just something stupid, right? I mean, how do you say?
I don't think the money even matters to him at this point. I think it's more okay. So I think there's two competing things, right? There's his comfort zone, what he's always known, what he's always driven with, like the whole management team. Like he's got a great relationship with Toto, like all of that. It's abandoning all of that.
Right.
On the other hand, I mean, it's Ferrari F1. Like, I mean, you're gonna forever be a Ferrari. You've driven a Ferrari. Like, it's so. That's the pull. That's why Ferrari generally gets their so many of the greats, even if they're not known for being at Ferrari, cycled through there anyway.
Right.
Just like Alonso was there, right?
Alonso
Vettel was there, right? I mean, it's just like the two. Yeah, like it's because it's Ferrari. How do you say no to Ferrari?
Hard to say no, but I think everything has to fall in place perfectly.
Yeah, I would expect him to still be a Mercedes. Just like I think that's where he wants to finish, and I think it's a big move for him again to not only move away from kind of the people he's worked with for a decade, but also out of the UK to an Italian-based team is a pretty big move.
I'll tell you what, if he does it,
I mean, I'm in it for the entertainment, so I am all in on that. Go for it, man. Let's see it.
If it happens, a lot of us will be Ferrari fans because we've got a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans, and that's that would be awesome.
That'll just what the Ferrari needs is more fans, right?
Bring them on. Oh man! All right, so what do you got, Vish? I mean,
we forgot to get Moni's predictions, so we'll have to fill that in after the fact, but whatever.
Yeah, and I think everybody is still at work or.
It's an early one. I mean, the Canes game's about to start, so we gotta get it.
Canes game, and then we've got NBA.
See
if they can pull it off today, finally, or what? We'll see about that. But let's see. What do you got?
All right, I am going to go with Leclerc 1.
Oh wow! Okay.
Checo 2. Hamilton 3rd. Max DNF. After Logan Sargent runs into him. I'm going all the way on that.
Max DNF.
Okay, Max DNF because Logan Sargent causes it somehow.
Logan. I'm like,
yeah, I'll go that granular.
All down. That's awesome. All right. I'm gonna go Leclerc winning this one as well.
Wow, what the hell's wrong with us?
I know. That's stupid, but it is what it is. Leclerc, Max, and I'm gonna go Sainz. I'm gonna go Ferrari. You
Wow,
got me
Ferrari
inspired about the
podium, double podium.
yeah. You got me inspired about Ferrari, and I think Hamilton's gonna see that and go, "Damn, that's where I want to be next year.
Could be third on the podiums to the Carlito.
That's where I want to be next year." I love it. I love it. He's gonna be so inspired by seeing that he's gonna finish in fourth. How about that?
All right, there you go. But that's not a surprise. Where's your
That's not
surprise
a
pick?
surprise. I'm just gonna say he's gonna finish in fourth.
Okay, all right. We'll give you a bonus point for that. Not that we keep score.
My surprise pick is going to be. Can I use qualifying as a surprise?
Sure, why not? We don't have rules.
Who
Just like
cares,
the
man?
FAA, we just make it up as we go.
I'm gonna say Sonoda. Sonoda's gonna end up in Q3, like in the top 7. Sonoda top 7.
All right. That's definitely
Listen,
a surprise. That's definitely a
another
surprise.
thing,
No,
right?
that definitely qualifies.
Honda engine, Sonoda, Japanese, Aston Martin. He might be the next Aston Martin guy in 2026.
That's an interesting, interesting play.
If
They
he
did
races
ask Martin
well, I don't think
Whitmarsh.
he's a bad driver, man.
No, they asked Martin Whitmarsh about that and gave a very political answer.
Oh yeah, what did he say?
Just, oh yeah, we'll consider any whatever that kind of stuff because.
How are you not going to consider the?
Well, that's the thing. He knows this. This is what McLaren was lacking when they blew that. Oh crap! Viegas 2-run homer.
Let's go.
Kafis walked and then Viegas just went yard.
I don't even have it on, but I'm gonna.
I don't either. I just have it on a little on another tab here, and it says UM2, so I had to click over.
That's a good start.
That is a very good start.
Yeah,
all right, let's go Canes.
Let's go, Daddy. Oh man, good show today. We kept it short. We kept it sweet. It was perfect. We miss Moni though, so hopefully we'll have her on next week.
Yep.
And
let's just hope. Let's just hope. I don't care what team you're a fan of. Someone other than Red Bull win this race. So
yeah,
I'll be happy.
yeah.
I don't care who it is. Actually, I take that back. No Alonso. I hate that guy. But
Alonso, no Red Bull.
The 17. I'm okay with 17 of these drivers winning this race.
Fair enough. We'll do that.
And you know who the top 3 favorites are, right?
Of course.
Of course. 2 Red Bulls and Fernando.
Oh,
anyway,
God. Unbelievable. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. But make sure you check us out on Twitter as well at _F1.
F1
5 reasons is on Twitter. Check us out there and follow us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Except for today.
Except for Thursdays at 6:30 randomly.
Correct. We'll see you guys.
All right, see you.